Hey, Busy Bees. Today we are back with another chapter in our My Words Gold series, Book 7, Mrs. Cooney is Loony by Dan Gutman. Before we get into our chapter of the day, we are going to get into our riddle of the day. And the riddle of the day is, Grandpa went out for a walk and it started to rain. He didn't bring an umbrella or a hat. His clothes got soaked, but not a hair on his head was wet. How is this possible? And I'll tell you again. Grandpa went out for a walk and it started to rain. He didn't bring an umbrella or a hat. His clothes got soaked, but not a hair on his head was wet. How is this possible? And I will give you the answer to the riddle at the end of our chapter. So let's pop open the book and fly through this adventure together. All right, we are on our last chapter of this book. And oh my goodness, yesterday we ended off on Mrs. Cooney admitting that she was a spy. So let's see what happens today. Chapter 12. Goodbye to Mrs. Cooney. Mrs. Cooney promised that she would turn herself into the police if we let her drive us home. First, she dropped off Emily at her house. Next, she dropped off Andrea at her house. Then she dropped off Michael at his house. Then she dropped off Ryan at his house. And finally, she pulled up to my house. Mrs. Cooney put on the emergency brake and turned to face me. She put her hand on my shoulder. I knew what was going to happen next. She was going to try and kiss me. That's what always happens in the movies, right? Every time a boy and a girl are alone in a car at night, they start kissing. It happens every time. Yuck. I didn't care how beautiful Mrs. Cooney was. I didn't care how much Mrs. Cooney's eyes looked like cotton candy. No way I was going to kiss her. Kissing is disgusting. Mrs. Cooney, I said, there's something we need to talk about. What is it? She said. I can't marry you, I said. Huh? She said, but please don't beg, I said. I had to choose between love and country. It was the hardest decision I ever had to make. But I decided that I can't betray my country to marry a spy and a traitor. Mrs. Cooney stared at me for a while, like she didn't know what to say. Then she looked all sad. I thought she might even cry. AJ, she said, I understand. I'll survive somehow. She gave me a hug, and I got out of the car. The future is going to be hard for both of us. Mrs. Cooney may have to spend the rest of her life in jail for what she did. And me? Well, somehow I have to get on with my life without her. I think we can both do it, but it won't be easy. And that is the end of our chapter for today. Oh my goodness. So it really didn't specify if she was a spy or not. It kind of went off on a different type of ending that I did not even predict. All right, so let's get into the answer of our riddle for today. So the riddle was, Grandpa went out for a walk and it started to rain, and he didn't bring an umbrella or a hat. His clothes got soaked, but not a hair on his head was wet. How is this possible? And the answer is, drum roll please. Who said he had hair? Grandpa was bald. Do you get it? Everything got wet because his clothes, the rain was able to get to his clothes, but his hair didn't get wet because he didn't have any hair at all. If you like this video, give it a like. And if you'd like to follow along for more adventures, hit that subscribe button. And I will see you on the next one.